Welcome to EssayEdge podcast Yellow Editor. EssayEdge is the leader in the field of editing services and has been more for than 20 years. Our goal is to help applicants enter their dream universities easily and successfully, and show that the process of applying can be so much of a fun. My name is Kate, I'm the communication manager of EssayEdge, and today we're going to continue discussing the MBA programs. Business administration students require strong writing skills, as colleges and universities assess these abilities regularly. Schools not only evaluate applicants' writing skills, but also look for standout experiences and goals. That is why the perfectly crafted admission document is your key to succeed. And today, our experienced editor will guide you through the whole process of composing a winning admission document. And I'm honored to give the floor to her.
My name is Jackie. I'm a Yale graduate and a journalist, and I've been editing for EssayEdge on and off for 4 years. I love editing essays because each one is so different. It's a piece of writing that is so conducive to the expression of each writer's individuality, and I have edited everything from college application essays to business school application essays and all manner of graduate school application essays from American students, also from international students, from people at different stages of their lives and careers, people who are going back to school after some time in the workforce, as well as very young students applying to college. And I find that despite the huge diversity of experience that these writers of essays have, the thing that they have in common is that they all take to the task of writing an essay and express something of who they are and what their path is.
Thank you, Jackie. So, let's continue with the questions I have prepared. And the first one is the following. Why essays matter, and how do you think, what role does the essay play in the admission process?
In the admission process, the essay plays such an important role. It's a really precious part of the application package, in my opinion. From the perspective of the student or the applicant, it's really the opportunity to showcase your individuality, to tell a story about yourself that the numbers just can't tell. And it's also, in very practical terms, the thing that you as an applicant can control at the moment of applying. The other elements of the application, your resume, your CV, various other elements like test scores, are basically set in stone. But the essay is the thing that you're working on up until the deadline, and you can really put into that work all of your ambition for the program, all of your excitement for the program, and it can be an opportunity to articulate for yourself why you want to do this project of going to school or doing another opportunity, as well as demonstrating to the people who are making the decision why you're the best fit.
Okay, so now I do hope that all of the applicants will understand that the admission document cannot be underestimated. Great. And speaking about the structure of the essay, so what points should the applicant pay attention to while working on their admission document?
It's my strong opinion that you should write directly and personally and with clarity and, if appropriate, some color. I think that it can be great to start an essay on an anecdote, and you don't have to go into too much detail, but it can be great to learn about a challenge that you overcame or something that interests you. Paradoxically, one of the best ways to show a reader of an essay who you are is by writing about something that interests you, something outside yourself, rather than writing about yourself. So if you're a scientist applying to grad school, speaking about some development in the field that really makes you passionate and to which you'd like to contribute can be a way of activating your voice so that we see really who you are. And I think the same can be true even of something like a college application essay, which is really such a broad, general statement of personality and expression. Sometimes the applicant can speak about an issue in their community or in their education that has really caught their interests, and in that way find their way into talking about what matters to them and what sort of thing they would like to contribute to in the world.
Great. And what makes a good MBA essay structure?
It depends a lot on the length that the program asks you to write to. Some of these essays are rather short, just a couple of hundred words. In those cases, clarity is paramount. You have to be to the point. You don't want to do a lot of hand waving. Of course, many applicants will be very accomplished. Many applicants will be big dreamers. So what you want to do is make the committee understand what sets you apart by telling them very concretely what it is that you've done and what it is that you plan to do. Avoid jargon. Avoid large, grandiose statements. Because when you make a claim for the kind of work that you've accomplished and the kind of person that you are, the rest of your application packet should be able to back it up. And it will be clear if that's not the case. So it can be helpful to be very specific. Often graduate school applicants, by that point in their education and career, will have chosen a rather specific thing that they'd like to focus on. You want to be pointy rather than well-rounded. But to return to the question of a good MBA essay structure, I think it can begin with an anecdote, or it can begin with the articulation of an issue you'd like to work on, and then it should broaden in a way that speaks about principles that you want to apply, the causes and issues that you want to stand for as you make your way in the world. You at this point can bring in some discussion of your background, of what qualifies you to go out into the world and take on those issues. And you should, at least by the end of the essay, segue into a discussion of what it is very concretely you'd like to accomplish and achieve in the program and beyond. The reader should get a good understanding of why this program, and none other, will set you up to do what it is that you want to do. You should have done research about the program. Each of your letters should look different. You should be able to articulate why it is that your skill sets set you up to take the most out of this program and then to use it to do something very specific and meaningful and helpful to the world and to you. And that means finding a niche, finding something specific enough that you can make a valuable contribution to it. And it also means finding something that you're truly passionate about. You want to be authentic even as you're being ambitious. You want to be authentic to the best version of yourself, in other words.
Well, that is a great guideline for crafting an impeccable MBA essay. And what about the applicants who face certain difficulties with crafting their admission document? I mean, how to get thoughts on a paper for a person who is having trouble coming up with ideas?
I think that this is such a tricky issue, especially for applicants who aren't used to writing creatively day to day, and I sympathize with it. I think it can be great to find ways to take the pressure off as you get down your first sentences and your first thoughts. Maybe you can do this by speaking to a friend or a trusted family member. If writing on the page seems too intimidating, you can ask them to interview you and record the session, or you can speak yourself into a recorder. And you may find that getting started in that way, the articulation of the ideas seems less frightening, and then you get to like articulating the ideas and you want to write more. As you're getting your first ideas down on paper, I often like to write longhand. I find that it lets me really zero in on what I'm doing rather than opening another browser window. I like to get a big piece of paper and just write down everything I can think of. We are used to sort of brainstorming maps on the whiteboard in a group meeting setting, but that kind of really messy, free-flowing thinking can also be helpful as an individual, because what you want to do is open your mind to make connections, and the stupidest ones are often the ones that are of use. You don't want to necessarily always be reaching for the most sophisticated connection between some idea and some concept and something in your life. On the contrary, these essays can be very direct and straightforward and human and just give a sense of who you are and what you're working on. So that's a long way of saying that you know everything. You've studied for this test. You have everything you have to pass it. The challenge is just getting it down and articulating it properly and being genuine. So I think that key to that is really getting down all of your thoughts and all of your ideas without judging them, without reaching beyond the first ones that come for some pretended more sophisticated one, instead being honest about what it is that you want to do and your goals. Think of this also as an exercise for yourself that's useful to you. Think about how, I'm sure you're going to get into the program, but even if you didn't get into the program, this might be an interesting and useful exercise to articulate to yourself your goals, something that you're passionate about in the world, who you are, where you're coming from, and where you're going. When you think of it that way, as an exercise that's useful to you personally, as well as a tool for getting into a program, then you can maybe begin to approach the task with some openness and creativity and go about it in a kind of receptive and flexible way.
I really like the idea of an exercise. I think it is such a valuable experience that will definitely come in handy in the future. Jackie, and what if your essay is approximately in 500 words? How can you fully explore and tell your theme so that it remains interesting and a well-structured story?
If your essay is 500 words, you still have room to fully explore your theme and keep it at the same time a well-structured story. So 500 words is about a page single-spaced. And that may seem short, but you can really pack a lot in there. You can have, I would say between 3 and 5 paragraphs, probably 4 to 5 paragraphs. And so that gives you the time to have a short opener, maybe 100 words, that is something colorful, an anecdote, a description of what you're working on, a strong opener. You can make a statement about who you are in the world. Or you can seduce the reader by having a kind of fun, colorful anecdote. And then you can zoom out and in another 100 or 200 words, make some strong statements about what it is that you plan to do, why it's important to the world beyond you, what kinds of projects already ongoing in the world it connects to, and elaborate on the issue that has you so passionate. You can then speak about your background, why you're set up to work on this issue, how you got interested in it, and you don't want to necessarily spend too much time replicating everything on your CV or everything on your transcript. The essay is instead a good opportunity to maybe point to a couple of things from your CV or your transcript, one or two things, and elaborate on them. Give the committee something that they can't get from the rest of your application portfolio. And then you can speak about what you'd like to do in the future, what you'll use the degree to do, and at last, you should really give a sense of why you are applying to this program in particular. You don't want the programs to feel like you've just copied and pasted the letter. Instead, you want to look at their website, look at their philosophy about education, look at who's teaching there, who you want to study with, and why you'd be a good fit. And I think it's very appropriate to end on that kind of a note, something very specific, forward-looking, and positive.
There is a very good point. Genuine interest in the program will definitely help your candidacy stand out. And what about the elements of the admission document that should be reduced, and are there such elements at all?
As you go about writing the essay, you should pay attention to techniques of writing, especially those that help with clarity of expression and give an impression of honesty, authenticity, and intelligence. So I'm going to focus for a moment on the passive voice. A great thing to look for as you're revising is whether you've made too frequent use of the passive voice. The passive voice is constructions with to be verbs rather than active verbs, so that begin with the object rather than beginning with the subject. And active voice usually leads to sentences that have fewer words in them and are more direct, and you can get more quickly to say what you mean. So try and, if you see passive voice in your essay, take it out. Try and use shorter sentences, and where you can, be as specific as possible. Be brief, concise, and choose the most specific verbs, adjectives, and images.
Great. These are very good points. Jackie, I have a question regarding the way to show that you are the perfect fit for the program. In what way should an applicant do that?
There are several ways to show that you are a perfect fit for the program. You can speak about your background, and you can also speak about what you're trying to do. In my opinion, showing that you're a perfect fit for the program is something that you shouldn't try and fake too much. It should be rooted in having done research about the program and being firm and resolved and genuine in your goals, your passion, and what it is that you'd like to do. You can draw on your experience in order to go farther, and your experience is what you have that really belongs to you. So you want to own that, and your dreams and your ambitions are something that you also should be firm and clear about. And I think that putting in the time to do some research about those goals, speaking with people around you, looking for models in the world of the kind of thing that you'd like to do, the kind of applicant, the kind of business person, the kind of professional you'd like to be, is something that cannot be replicated. You should put in the time and really use this as an opportunity to research and set goals for yourself. So you'll want to draw on that kind of deep thinking and research about who you are and what you want to do as you demonstrate to the program that you're a perfect fit for it. I think that it's hard to underestimate the importance of tone. You want to be enthusiastic and yet professional. You want to be enthusiastic but not over the top. You want to still be appropriate and professional and level-headed and serious in the way that you write. That really gives a sense of your personality as someone who is ready to take on the challenge of studying in the program, and then, most important, use that to make something in the world. You want to show the program that you're already looking ahead to a life after graduation, that you are seeing this time in the program as part of a career and a life that's already underway and that will continue after the program in a similarly accomplished and high-energy way. The program is not the be-all and end-all, but it's rather a perfect fit for you. It's something that's going to help you to do what it is that you can be most useful doing. You want to show the program that you have thought about how you fit into the world, what you can contribute, how you can be helpful, and that you've thought about how you can use the program in order to get there. You should give some sense that you're a community-minded individual as well as being ambitious, and that can mean lots of different things. That can mean looking forward to collaborating with classmates, learning from classmates, and contributing to a community. It can also mean being literate and fluent in the developments of the professional field to which you too would like to contribute. Accountability can mean doing something that has a context in the world that is recognizable within a community as contributing to the knowledge of that community, its well-being, innovation, the needs that it has that have to be met, that kind of a thing. So you want to show how smart and ambitious you are as an individual by showing how it is you fit into the world, and it's a little bit paradoxical in that way. But I think that by looking around yourself and finding a niche where you can be the best version of yourself by making a contribution, you can then arrive at some conclusions that in turn will be very persuasive to the program.
To sum it up, Jackie, what is your advice for those who only start thinking about crafting their MBA essay?
If you're just now beginning to think about crafting your MBA essay, that's great. I congratulate you at this stage of your decision making. And I have some advice. I think that you should look at this essay even if it seems burdensome, as an opportunity for self-discovery, as a way to articulate who you are in the world, what you've done, and what you want to do. Think of it as a kind of bookmark in your life. It's a small bookmark, it just serves to mark the page, but it kind of takes a snapshot of who you are at a particular moment. It's an opportunity to appreciate all that you have achieved with your experience, your hard work, your energy, and your passion. And it's also an opportunity to consider how much of the book is left to read and how great that book will be. You're thinking about the continuity between the two halves of the book, and you're looking at where you are in your life, your career, your development, and where you're headed. So it's an opportunity to articulate what matters to you, principles, commitments, ideas. And you can articulate what matters to you by thinking abstractly or simply by looking at models out in the world. Maybe there are business people or firms that you think are very admirable. Maybe there's a niche in the market that you know exactly how to fill. Maybe there's simply a passion deep within you that you know that if you find the right outlet for it, you're going to be able to make something that other people will really like and use. This kind of thing, this big dream, is exactly the kind of thing that you should latch on to. And it's not enough just to latch on to it. At this stage, as you're crafting your MBA essay and beginning to do so, you should be doing lots of research and thinking about how to articulate your wildest, biggest dreams, the bigger the better, but in a way that is serious and down to earth and specific. And that's sort of the trick. And that's why it can be very helpful to spend the time crafting and revising an essay. Thanks so much for listening. Best of luck.
Thank you, Jackie. It was a real pleasure to spend the last 30 minutes with you. Dear friends, I hope the information you heard today was worth joining our podcast. You can subscribe to our channel and make sure you do not miss the future shows. Also, please check our website www.essayedge.com for more information. My name is Kate, and it was the Yellow Editor.